All right, it's another day of doing this Homeric Rhapsody thing. So again, I'm attempting to honor the ancient tradition of Homeric Rhapsody, of reciting stories from the Trojan War and surrounding stories from memory. I'm not necessarily trying to recreate the Iliad exactly. I'm not necessarily trying to create my own thing. It's something unknown to what most people now would consider authorship or recitation, because it is neither seeking to create or to recite in exactness. But it is as close as I think is probably possible to get to the way they would have done it in 800 BC or whatever. So, all right, let's give it a shot. Sing to me, goddess, of that Argive camp, rift in two by the quarrel of Agamemnon and Achilles. Achilles had promised to withdraw his men, and Agamemnon had promised to withdraw BRISEUS from the hands of the swift runner himself. But first, the matter must be seen to restore the camp to its once state of health by sending an envoy to Chryses. Odysseus, the wily, the many-minded, was chosen for this task, to take a few picked men and a set of generous offerings and bring them to Chryses' Isle. They did so. The men embarked on the ship, on the least moldering of the ships that have been sitting 9 years in the Achaeans' camp, and they took it to Chryses with many gifts, asking nothing. They arrived on the isle, and Odysseus spake, O Chryses, the great king Agamemnon has repented his previous transgressions. We offer you these many sheep, these many fat lambs, to burn over the fire, to toast the fat, and to honor the god Apollo. Chryses was happy at this, and even more glad to see that they had brought with them his beloved daughter, Chryseis. Upon seeing her, he at once spoke to the great god, O god Apollo, I have been revenged. Thank you for the blessings you have bestowed upon me and the curses you have bestowed upon my enemies. I now humbly ask that just as you have set your plague arrows on the Achaean camp, that you now will remove the pall from the air surrounding their ships and their ramparts. Apollo did this as soon as the offering was burning and the savory smell of the fat wrapped bones and flesh wafted up to Olympus. And yea, the men feasted and danced and played music and rejoiced in the great God, the Lord of Light, Apollo's glory. Meanwhile, in Achilles' tent, he sat there, boiling over with rage, with wrath for Agamemnon, for the Achaeans, for every one of the captains who he called his friends that had not spoken up in his defense. Soon, men arrived and were presented in front of the flap of the tent. It was Eurybates, the herald, along with another herald of Agamemnon's, both asked to do this very disagreeable task, both dreading asking Achilles for his permission to take BRISEUS. Yea, they had been ordered by the great king Agamemnon, but he was not the one who had to face down the strongest in the Achaean army and the most hot-tempered. They showed their faces within the tent and could not speak, did not know where to begin. However, Achilles spoke first. Enter, my friends. I know why you're here. Patroclus, bring them meat, bring them bowls to wash their hands, bring them whatever they choose. I know why they have come. They have been ordered by Agamemnon to take away my beloved BRISEUS. Yea, I be boiling over with wrath for the great, as so he calls himself, king himself. But you I have no quarrel with. You are but doing what was ordered of you. So you can tell the king that I put up no resistance. Yea, if he should try to take anything else of mine, his blood will spatter the earth before he even is able to finish speaking his words. But this I offer with no qualms. So take the girl BRISEUS, sit down to feast with me, and then you may return to your king, for he is no longer mine. Yea, the men did so, and another feast was had within the tent of Achilles, BRISEUS enjoying her last meal before having to go over to Agamemnon of a life of servitude. And once the men had gone, Achilles could not any longer contain himself. The tears began to flow. He was lamenting the girl who he loved, despite her being a captive of his spear. And he came out of the tent, across the beach. None of the men approached him. None of the men even looked in his direction. None wanted him to cast this glance over towards them or incur his ire. Achilles came to the sea and began wailing. He fell to his knees, and his shouts and his screams and his cries were heard all the way down in the deep, at the feasts and revelries of the old man of the sea. And his mother Thetis heard him. And Thetis would come up and speak to her son. All right, that one was not so bad. Mostly just a series of events. I didn't really do so much interesting flourishes that time or anything, but it was, for the most part, coherent. One thing I thought was kind of funny that I had to change or like address mid-story was that I forgot to mention that Odysseus brought Chryseis with him to give back to Chryseis, which was the whole point of them going. So I like added it at the last minute, where it kind of actually worked out because it played in the story as if that was like, you know, the last thing, like a reveal of like, oh yeah, and then he saw Chryseis and he was happy. But another interesting thing, because you know you can't go back necessarily. I guess you could, but you know the stuff that you say is said, and you have to work from there. So it's a really interesting, kind of like mentally stimulating way to try and compose a thought, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Again, I don't think I'm really that good at it yet. It's only been, you know, less than 10 days, maybe like 8 days or something that I'm doing this. But, you know, doing it every day, that's the important part. Again, the reason I'm doing this is because for the game project that I'm working on, for all the written content that'll be in it, I am trying to practice kind of like more fluidly coming up with Homeric things to say for that project when the time comes. Even the first iteration of the game that'll be coming out isn't going to have that much written stuff in it, but the one after that will have a lot. So, you know, I'm sort of starting now, and then we'll see how it goes. Again, happy that I did it another day, and I'm, you know, kind of looking forward to where it goes from here. Oh, the other thing too is that as of today, which I guess is day 8, I've officially like made the previous videos public on YouTube. So for whatever that means, I had been recording them each day, but at first, it's kind of it's embarrassing, to be honest, that these are very like rough and not very well told stories that I'm doing with a blindfold on the whole time. But you know, I wanted to see if it was an idea that would play out, and I'm finding a lot of value in it, so I'm turning this into a real thing. Who knows how many days I will do it, but for now, for 8 days, I have done it, and I hope to do it for a 9th day. All right, that's that.